Hi everyone, I want to take you for a little walk through the beautiful green winter of Trentham. Just because, it might not be Paris, but gee, it's beautiful. And it was snowing just a few moments ago, hence all the layers I'm wearing. And I was so excited about the snow in my video that I didn't really dive into the topic of abundance, and I want to talk about abundance a little bit more because as creatives this is a big topic and something that I think as Esther Hicks would say, we go in and out of the vortex with the truth and the true nature of abundance. But I just want to share a couple of stories with you that might help you to see it in a way that I like to see it, and that helps me to get into the vortex or to see the abundance that is always available. So when I went to Paris a few weeks ago, it was a heart move. Many people said it was a silly idea. I had full permission not to go. It was not something that was logical. And it was a big risk and it cost a lot of money, and it was for no material reason but something that I needed to do in my heart. And the reason this connects to abundance is we are all naturally abundant as humans, as living beings. And I find that the truth is wherever we are naturally creative, wherever we naturally cannot help but give of ourselves, where it's our instinct, where it's our, it gives us great fulfillment and pleasure to give. For me, that's writing and studying and, writing about things. That is where we are naturally abundant. And with most of the artists that I know a lot of painters and crafts people, they always give so many of their artworks away because it gives them great pleasure to create, just as it does for me to write. So I don't just write when I've got a book commissioned by a publisher. I don't just write I used to be a freelance journalist. I didn't just write when I had stories commissioned when I was getting paid to write. I wrote every single day because it expands me. It's something that I can't help but do. It's something that I'm compelled to do. And that's a real key to your abundance, is something that you feel compelled from your heart to do. Even if you're not good at it, even if you've still got so much to learn about it, even if, it might look silly and illogical to other people. And things have a way of working out when you follow that creative instinct in terms of abundance. So I needed a lot of support, as I said, with this trip to Paris, and I asked for support. I asked my spirit team, my higher self, my dad in the other world, God, everyone. As soon as I decided that I was going, I was like, okay, I need this amount of extra money to make this work, and I will need, people to help me with this aspect, translation, driving me to things, blah, 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 blah. And I just asked every day. First I would ask myself, what do I need? And then I would articulate that to God and my spirit team. And every single thing that I asked for showed up. I'm not really ready to share a lot of that trip because I'm still processing it and it's very sacred to me. But I want to share one little story of how things, what we ask for with our heart is always given to us. So part of what was very important about that trip was what I needed to bring back from France to Australia. And shipping and everything is very difficult at the moment with shipping. And so the best, most efficient and safest thing for me to do was to purchase an extra 10 kilos of carry-on luggage for the flight back to Australia and purchase an extra suitcase and put everything in that suitcase. Now, this was just the first thing that came up. It was mentioned to me by one of my friends in France, and it just felt like the right thing to do. I would not let myself think about the TV show I watched on Melbourne Airport's baggage handlers and how chaotic things have been since COVID. I would not let myself think about the risks involved. I would not let myself think about that. I just prayed and meditated on the vision that I had in my head of everything, papers, photos, arriving safely back in Melbourne with me on the same flight, even though I had connecting flights and an unexpected layover in the Middle East for a day. And you know what? It all appeared. Miraculously, unbelievably, this suitcase full of treasures that are of no value to anyone but me appeared at the baggage carousel when I landed back. That is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to me to have them with me. And it's not a material, like if you measured that, you know, the contents of that suitcase, nobody else would find that valuable to me, but me and members of my family. So anyway, that was a cheap suitcase I'd purchased at one of those little places next to the train stations in Paris for 35 euros. Anyway, when I came back to Melbourne, I actually had to fly out the very next morning. So I was in my bed, set the alarm, and had to go back to the airport in the morning because I had booked a flight to see my brother about a month or so earlier. Unlike Paris, this was a planned holiday. I hadn't seen him for 2 years and I didn't want to let him down. And even though I was jet lagged, I just thought, well, it's not like I have to organise a funeral. I'm going to chill out and see him and sit on the beach. So I got back on the plane, or I just threw everything. I had so many dirty clothes, didn't matter. I just got the only clean clothes I could find and some of the dirty ones, threw them in the suitcase, my really good suitcase, which I hadn't taken to Paris because it's smaller. It's a Samsonite suitcase, and I flew to my brother. So it was a little airport, Melbourne Airport to Coolangatta. Coolangatta's a really small airport, no connecting flights, nothing. Had a nice 5 days with him, flew back to Melbourne. My Samsonite fantastic suitcase was put on the wrong luggage carousel and it was irretrievably broken. The luggage handlers smashed the holder thing, whatever, and I had to take the suitcase to the tip this morning because you can't repair it, and it's made of materials that need to be recycled. You can't put them in the bin. It needs to go to a tip. Anyway, I felt like that was the universe saying to me, everything that you ask for, you know, your heart asks for, is given to you. The things that matter, the things that are valuable, the things that are worthy are given to you. There was nothing in that suitcase that was worth, you know, anything to my heart the way that suitcase from Paris mattered to me. And you know, I've had that Samsonite suitcase for over 12 years. It's okay that I need to replace it now. You know, I got my money's worth. It was $150 or something. It really doesn't matter in the scheme of things. It's, you know, I know how much pressure those luggage handlers at Melbourne Airport are under, and I'm not going to tell them about it and make a complaint or anything. They're all way overworked and understaffed, and it's part of what we get for paying so little for air travel these days. But I just wanted to share that story because value is what we assign to things, and I think when you work from your heart, you know, the universe will give you what you need, and when you do what you know you need to do, you will be resourced. Now, I'm not stupid and I'm not being impractical here. If you need food and you're starving and you need to borrow money, you need to do that. You know, all of these things are true, but I also believe that taking risks creative risks and giving and receiving creatively are what true abundance is really about, because love is the reason we're here. The video just cut out on me, and I think I was going off on a bit of a tangent, so I'll just clarify that bit. I think that with abundance, something that I've noticed with the beautiful spiritually minded people that I know and work with on this topic is that we tend to waver a little bit between trusting and flowing, and then by very nature of taking care of practicalities, which we need to do as humans, micromanaging the timeline and the details. And so when you can just tap into the feeling and figure out a way, and I know this from 20 years ago when I was trying to get my very first article published, before I'd had thousands of articles and 2 books published. I'd never had anything published, and I was just like, what? I was trying so hard, and I was working so hard on it. It wasn't until I let go and, figured out a way to be happy in myself without the tangible evidence of the thing, and to feel the vibration or frequency of what I was looking to feel from achieving the thing, i.e. creative, like my work was meaningful, like I had the okay of editors and publishers and the backing of editors and publishers. It wasn't until I gave that to myself, I made it a job for me, I gave myself the time and resources and support, even before I was ever paid for an article, that it suddenly started appearing. And I know that sounds paradoxical, and it's probably the hardest part of abundance and, transforming our abundance to master, because it takes moving into the new zone without seeing any evidence of it. But it's all about emotions and feeling, and if you can figure out what that feeling is, that particular thing is going to give you relief, or so for example, with the suitcase thing, I was terrified that some of these documents would be damaged. I was terrified that, something might happen to the suitcase, that the contents, might get strewn all over the place or damaged or wet. But I just wouldn't allow myself to think about that. I just kept focusing what I knew to be true that actually felt good, and that was that I deeply care about the records of this person's life, and I know that they're important and they are meant to be with me, and I would do all that I knew to do to keep them safe in the suitcase. I made sure there was nothing liquid in that particular suitcase. I bought some plastic covers in Paris for packing. I packed as best I could, and I did all of that. But then I ultimately had to let it go, because for a day and a half while I was in the air, it was out of my control. And I had to focus on what I had, regardless of whether or not I got to have the photos and the documents in that suitcase. What I had gained and created and learnt and known from that trip that I never would have otherwise, regardless of if the suitcase ended up in Melbourne or not. I hope that this metaphor is helping. It's such a paradox that abundance tends to come when we let go and surrender the actual physical way it's going to look. And we focus more on the feeling that we're after, because it's usually about the level of consciousness or the feeling. It's not about the thing itself. It's not about the specific car or the specific jumper. It's if that jumper has emotional or sentimental value or has meaning for you. And the good thing about meaning is that you can create it, and you can change the meaning and the value that you assign to things. Something could be worth millions of dollars to you and nothing to me, and vice versa. That's why there is more than enough to go around of everything, because we all have different wants and desires and needs. And I just think it really helps to focus on what you create, what you love to create, what you love to do, how you love to be, what you would give out to the world regardless of whether you were being paid, and who you are regardless of, tangible outcomes or approval. And that's often the key to where the abundance is going to flow for you. And I think it's really interesting that so many beautiful artists that I know give away a lot of their work and their creations, and then they do charge for other things. But it doesn't mean that the painting they charged $20,000 for is actually worth more than the one that they gave away for free. It's all about what we assign and what we decide. So we can decide that something is valuable, or we can decide to let it go and give it away. And that's where the freedom lies within us, to create our own meaning and our own abundance, and to say, I feel like a millionaire today because look what I was able to give away to 1 million people for free. I hope that makes sense. I'll stop now because this is a rather long video, but let me know if any of this has resonated. I hope it has.